Hey, lovely fifth grade. Today we are going to continue on with our Unit 3. We're going to be reviewing adding and adding in subtracting decimals today. So get your journals ready. And again, we're reviewing adding and then continuing on with subtracting decimals through the thousandths place. So get your journals ready and here we go. So what is the most important thing to remember when adding and subtracting decimals? Let me think. When you add or you subtract decimals, what do you have to do to make the math correct? And if you said, line up the decimals, you are correct. Lining up the decimals is the most important thing. Is it the only thing? No, but it is the most important thing. All right. For example, when adding your decimals, you have 12 and 7 tenths, and you have 15 and 98 hundredths. The first step is line up your decimals. Second step is make sure you drop down that decimals that's there. Step 3 is you have to add in a 0 as your place value holder. And third and final step is you add them all up. So you should have 0 plus 8, which is 8. And then 7 plus 9 is 16. Then you have a ones, you regroup and carry. Your 16 decimal places are already there. Then your 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 5 is 18. And then 1 plus 1, you should have a 2. Now, this is just an example. You didn't have to write that one down. And let's move forward. Again, we are just reviewing our addition from yesterday and Monday, and now we're going to move forward. All right, here are some more examples. So in your journal, let's go ahead and write these down. You have 3 and 41 hundredths plus 2 and 58 hundredths. And then you have 4 and 1/10 plus 5 and 7 tenths. Go ahead and write both of those down and see if you can solve. Remember your first step, decimals lined up. Step 2, drop down your decimals. Step 3, fill in any zeros. We don't have any. Step 4 is final. You should have a 9. You should have a 9 and 5. Then on the next one, you have 4 and 1/10 plus 5 and 7 tenths. You should have an 8 and 9 tenths as your total. Okay, now you're going to work with a partner. You're going to try these two. You have 6 and 6 tenths plus 1 and 92 hundredths plus 7 and 7 as a whole plus 3 and 9 tenths. So we're going to pause the video here. Those of you that are at home, if you want to work with someone, go ahead and do that. And we're going to pause the video here and come back and check. So you should have decimal places drop down, a 0 added in. You should have had a 2, a 5, a 1, and an 8 for 8 and 52 hundredths. Then you have 9 and 10 for 10 and 9 hundredths. Okay, now here's 2. Practice on your own. Try these independently. Again, we're just warming up from yesterday. You have 8 and 8 tenths plus 3 and 1/10. Then 8 and 29 hundredths plus 9 and 31 hundredths. Go ahead and add those up. You should have dropped down your decimal, drop down your decimal. You should have a 9 and 11 and 9/10. And then you should have a 0, a 1. You have 1 plus 2, which is 3 plus 3 is 6. And then you should have 17 and 60 hundredths. Okay, that was our addition. And now we're moving to the rest of this week. Rules for subtracting decimals. The only big difference with subtracting decimals is you have to find your larger place value number and place your values in order from largest to smallest. So when you subtract, the bigger number has to be on top. And if you have more than 2 numbers, they have to be in order from least to greatest. Then step 2, you have to make sure all the decimals are lined up. Step 3, drop down the decimal in your answer. Step 4, add in your zeros for place value holders. And then your step 5 is find your difference. So let's try. Here is the example that I have. 6 and 10 hundredths is greater than 5 and 41 hundredths. So 6 and 1/10 is placed on top. Decimal places are lined up. Then we subtract. You can't take 1 from 0, so here is our regrouping. Remember, you have to regroup. Your 1 becomes a 0, your 0 becomes 10, then you can. Now 6 has to be reduced for 5, then you have 10, 10 minus 4 is 6, and you have a 0 here for 69 hundredths. Again, that is just an example. Okay, here are some examples I want you to try on your own. So write down 6 and 7 tenths minus 3 and 1/10, and also write down 5 and 81 hundredths minus 2 and 55 hundredths. Go ahead and try to solve. Pause the video here and then come back and check your work. So you should have 7 minus 1 is 6. 6 minus 3 is 3. So 3 and 6/10. Then on the next one, you can't take 5 from 1. So we're going to make our 8 is 7, our 1 and 11. 11 minus 5 is 6. 7 minus 5 is 2. 5 minus 2 is 3, for an answer of 3 and 26 hundredths. Okay, here is a partner one. Try these two with a partner. Check and make sure that they know what they're doing and you are too. Make sure you regroup correctly. You have 8 and 33 hundredths minus 4 and 61 hundredths. And then you have 7 and 1/10 minus 1 and 8/10. Remember, the larger numbers have to go on top. Okay, so let's check our answers. You should have a 2. 8 becomes 7, 3 becomes 13, 13 minus 6 is 7, 7 minus 4 is 3. You should have 3 and 72 hundredths. You can't take 8 from 1, 7 becomes 6, 11. 11 minus 3, you should have 3 there, and it's 11 minus 8, excuse me, and then you have 6 minus 1, which is a 5 and 3/10. And try these independently. See if you can do these on your own. You have 7 and 2/10 minus 4 and 4/10 and 3 and 72 hundredths minus 2 and 94 hundredths. Okay, now let's check. Did you drop? Did you drop down your decimals? Now, if you can't do the work, you have to regroup. 7 minus 4 is 8. 6 minus 4 is 2. Then we're going to regroup 12. 7 becomes a 6. 12 minus 4 is 8. Can't do that. 16 minus 7 is 0 and 78 hundredths. And again, we are just moving very slowly into our subtraction. All right, so let's review. What is the most important thing to remember when adding and subtracting decimals? Is it A, lining up the decimal numbers, B, lining up the decimals, or C, there's nothing important to remember? If you got B, you are correct. All right, so here is your exit ticket. It is on page 46. Again, you're going to try to do these on your own and then come back and check and make sure that we're doing it. So we have the Argentinosaurus, the Diplopithecus, the Spinosaurus, and the Utasaurus. I want you to look at these two words and pick the number that is the greater one, and you are going to use the table on the top of the page to figure out the difference in heights between the two dinosaurs and show your answer. So it is difference, which means we are subtracting. So make sure that you do that. Before we move on to the independent work, which is on page 47, which is subtracting the values that are here, make sure you check in with me to see if you got those correct. And that is going to be it for today. And I will see you guys back in our whole group to go over the exit tickets before you go to the independent practice. And I will see you then.